Life trips us up, again and again. At moments, it whispers softly. At others, it screams impossible to ignore. Some seek to grasp its meaning, turning inward for answers. Others attempt to outrun it, chasing distractions. But life, ever persistent, always makes its presence felt. Eventually, it unveils itself, demanding we face it head-on. Life, in its raw form, isn't just a series of events. It's a journey towards self-discovery. There's a common misconception that life and spirituality are separate journeys, but they are like two sides of the same coin. When you flip it, you're not sure which side will face up, but both are part of the same entity. There's no need to separate them. Doing so only limits our understanding of each. Life is the classroom, and spirituality is the lesson plan. Often, life pushes us to the brink, to the edge of what we think we can handle. It's not cruelty, but a test of our will, a prompt to dig deeper and touch the spiritual core of our existence. It echoes the words of philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who said, "Life can only be understood backward, but it must be lived forwards." Life's impermanence isn't meant to unsettle us, but to awaken us. Change is the only constant, as Heraclitus wisely stated. You cannot step into the same river twice. Life ebbs and flows, pushing us to adapt, evolve, and embrace its impermanent nature. So what makes a day or any moment special? For some, it's tied to emotional attachments or special dates on the calendar. While there's nothing inherently wrong with that, focusing solely on special days can detract from the beauty of the everyday. After all, each day provides new opportunities for growth, for bettering ourselves and our understanding of the world around us. Why do we attach significance to certain days and not others? Is it merely tradition or cultural influence? Or is it a method to escape the routine, the mundane, and focus on something that appears to be more uplifting? Philosopher Alan Watts questioned this when he asked, "Why do we remember the past and not the future? We'd often feel burdened with work, responsibilities, and the rush of daily life. But what if we change our perspective? What if we view each day as a new canvas to paint our experiences on? Each moment then becomes an opportunity to live fully. If we believe that every day is an opportunity for rebirth, for shedding our old selves to make room for the new, then the concept of special days starts to fade. Instead, every moment becomes an invitation to be the most authentic version of ourselves. This doesn't mean we shouldn't celebrate occasions or milestones, but perhaps we should also find joy in the everyday, the ordinary. So, what is the essence of life? It's not merely to survive, but to thrive, not just to exist, but to feel, think, act, and transform. To live each day like it's both the first and the last, with the curiosity of a child and the wisdom of an elder. Life isn't just a series of random events, but a path toward enlightenment. Each day is a stepping stone, each moment a flicker of potential. Through the lens of spirituality, we don't just pass through life. We engage with it, shape it, and in the process, shape ourselves. And that, perhaps, is realizing the essence of life. Future and past don't exist. Life is a fleeting experience confined to the present moment, a continuous unfolding of the now. The past and future are mere constructs of our mind, mental folders where we stash away memories or hopes. While we can feel the weight of yesterday or tomorrow, the only moment we can truly engage with is this very second. Why do we live in the past or future? Albert Einstein once said, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Our minds are geared to anticipate and reminisce. They're survival tools trained over millennia. Yet, in doing so, we often miss the beauty and opportunities that come with the present. The dilemma is not just philosophical, it's rooted in our biology. Neuroscientists point out that our brains have evolved to anticipate threats and opportunities. hence the natural tendency to drift into future or past scenarios. This biological imperative has a downside: stress and anxiety. Studies indicate that mindfulness, the art of staying present, can mitigate these mental strains. So, the now isn't just a spiritual concept, it's a mental health strategy. A friend once asked, "Why do I worry so much, even when I know it's fruitless?" The answer is multifaceted. Habits ingrain themselves over time, becoming almost second nature. Additionally, there's a perverse enjoyment in worrying. It feels like we're doing something, even if it's mentally counterproductive. As the saying goes, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. Could it be that our greatest gift is also our greatest curse? Our intellectual capacities, the faculties of reason and logic, are unparalleled in the animal kingdom. Yet, we seem to be the only species capable of creating our own suffering through overthinking, addiction, and emotional tumult. As Carl Jung observed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, what are the solutions? There are two main paths. First, you could grow wary of your habitual patterns over time, or even lifetimes, if you subscribe to such a belief. The second, more immediate option is to become conscious of these patterns, for awareness is the first step towards change. Now ask yourself, do you lament over life's challenges, holding on to your sorrows like cherished possessions? Or do you take life as it comes, acknowledging its unpredictability as a part of its beauty? Your response to this question is a mirror reflecting your relationship with life and indicating the steps you may need to take. Everything happens in the present moment, and your attitude toward it either elevates you or ties you down. Becoming aware of your thought patterns and embracing the now isn't just spiritual advice. It's a manual for living a more enriching life. There's no past and there's no future. Time is a very misleading thing. All there is ever is the now. Life is like a non-Newtonian fluid, unpredictable and contrary to our intuitive understanding. If you've ever played with substances like cornstarch mixed with water, you know they don't follow the usual rules. They flow smoothly until you apply pressure, then they harden. This quirky behavior is a fitting metaphor for life itself. In its essence, life is fluid, perpetually shifting, and ever responsive. But as soon as we apply the pressure of our thoughts, expectations, and fears, it hardens against us. It's as if life is telling us, "You can't confine me within the boundaries of your mind." Does this make life hard or complex? Not necessarily. It's our resistance to life's natural flow that creates hurdles. Think of it like quicksand. The more you struggle, the more you sink. Similarly, the tighter you try to hold on to life, the more elusive it becomes. But here's the thing, letting go is challenging, especially when you've spent years, maybe even decades, building a mental fortress of how things should be. Unlearning isn't a flip of a switch. It's an ongoing process. As the French writer André Gide observed, man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. What's crucial is your commitment to change. It's like learning to swim. At first, the water seems like an enemy pushing against you. But over time, you realize that the same water that felt resistive can actually support you, if you learn to trust it. Your effort counts, maybe even more than you realize. Now consider the term should, a word that acts like a straitjacket. Every should you impose on life narrows your possibilities. These shoulds are often deeply ingrained, passed down through family, culture, and personal experiences. But they're not permanent fixtures. They're more like sticky notes on the wall of your mind. And each time you peel one off, you create space for something new. So, how do you embrace the present moment? How do you shift from resisting life to flowing with it? It starts with being here, now, fully immersed in this very moment. Because, let's face it, the past and the future exist only as thoughts. They're like mirages in the desert, compelling but ultimately unreal. What you have is this moment, as tangible as the ground under your feet. The great physicist Richard Feynman once said, "You have no responsibility to live up to what other people think you ought to accomplish. You have no responsibility to be like they expect you to be. Shed your preconceived notions, let go of your tightly held fears, and open up to the expansive playground that is life. Your life is not something to be wrestled into submission. It's not a puzzle to solve or a code to crack. It's a fluid, ever-changing experience that responds to your touch, much like a non-Newtonian fluid. When you cease your struggle, loosen your grip, and let yourself float in the current of the present moment, you'll find that life, far from being a challenge to overcome, is a journey to be savored." Many of us spend a significant portion of our lives seeking control. We aim to control our finances, relationships, career paths, and even our own emotions. The irony is, the more we strive for control, the more entangled we become in a web of stress and anxiety. It's like trying to grasp water. The tighter you hold, the more it slips away. Yet control isn't inherently bad. It's the misuse of control that trips us up. There's a difference between steering the course of your life and trying to micromanage every little detail. Consider a river. You can direct its flow with well-placed boundaries, but if you try to control each droplet, you'll only exhaust yourself. This takes us to the concept of freedom, which can be a confusing notion. We often mistake freedom for the absence of any constraints, but true freedom doesn't come from having no boundaries. It comes from knowing which boundaries are worth setting. As psychotherapist Carl Rogers put it, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Now let's talk about the importance of balance. It's like walking on a tightrope. Lean too far in one direction, say, toward rigid control, and you'll fall. Lean too far in the opposite direction, toward reckless abandon, and you'll meet the same fate. Balance is the key. You must find the middle path that allows you to honor life's fluidity, while also having enough structure to give your life direction. Here, mindfulness can be your guidepost. When you are deeply tuned into the present moment, you develop a keen awareness of your tendencies. You start noticing when you're overstepping and trying to control the uncontrollable, or when you're too lax and letting life pass you by. Mindfulness is like a real-time feedback mechanism that helps you calibrate your balance, much like the inner ear helps a tightrope walker maintain stability. Finally, let's consider adaptability. We've talked about life's ever-changing nature, which requires us to be equally adaptable. There's a saying by Bruce Lee that encapsulates this idea beautifully. Be like water making its way through cracks. Do not be assertive, but adjust to the object, and you shall find a way around or through it. Being adaptable doesn't mean being aimless. Rather, it means being flexible in your approach to achieving your goals, knowing that the path isn't set in stone. So, as you navigate this journey called life, remember it's not about holding on tightly or letting go recklessly. It's about finding that sweet spot where control and freedom coexist. By doing so, you unlock the magic of living in the present, where the fluidity of life becomes your greatest ally. With this mindset, you won't just survive, you'll thrive. If you found value in today's discussion and wish to dive deeper into the currents of spirituality, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Sharing this video could help someone you know find the balance they've been seeking, so please share the wisdom. For those looking to elevate your spiritual journey, consider joining our Patreon or membership program. Your support goes a long way in helping us create more enlightening content for you. Also, Don't forget to check out the books listed in the description below. Thank you for your time today, and until we meet again, stay present and balanced in the journey of life.